everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee, and this is a show we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, Patreon, Google Podcasts, Anchor, wherever, guys. While you're there, go and rate, review, subscribe, then head on over to the Facebook group and Twitter account and join in the discussion. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Dayspring Discussions Book Reports, Star Wars Edition. That's right, guys. We are here to talk about Star Wars canon novels. Lisa has been rereading them in chronological order, and we have been reviewing them. And by the way, I'm joined by Lisa Locke McGahee.
Yes, I am here.
Yes, that's right. All right, guys. So this is our third recording straight in a row. We got a little bit behind. I have finished the newest Star Wars novel, Queen's Peril. I desperately want to talk about it with Lisa, but she refused to talk about it until we got caught up on the book reports. So we recorded 3 in a row. This is 3 out of 3. Get done with it. And now, tomorrow, she's going to start Queen's Peril, or my head might explode.
Well, technically, I'm in the middle of another book right now.
Oh, come on, woman.
That's not Star
Wars
related.
Priorities, okay? Priorities, okay? Come on. Let's just do it. Anyway, guys, so we have been recording them. I will post them sparsely throughout the next couple of days, and you guys fire back, of course. Let us know what you think and if you might be interested in the books we are talking about. So today we are talking about John Jackson Miller's A New Dawn. Now, Mr. Miller, he has written several Star Wars comic books in the Legends era. He also wrote the novel Kenobi, again, set in the Legends era. This is his first canon novel, and this is actually the first canon novel published by Lucasfilm under the Disney banner. And Lisa, I'm just going to let you take it away.
So, I know you have heard me say this many, many times, but A New Dawn is probably my favorite of the new canon
Really?
novels.
Okay.
I love this book. I know we said I've been rereading through all the canon novels, and so for most of them, it's my second read. This one was probably the 4th time I've read this one. I love this book. I don't know if it's just because, this book is about how Kanan and Hera met, and I love Rebels. The first time I read this, I'm not sure where, how much of Rebels, whatever we had been.
Well, because I know, as far as your Rebels viewing, Season 2 was just getting underway when you actually started watching Rebels. Mm-hmm. Where you read this in that, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I read this after I had started Rebels, or if reading this is what prompted me to start watching Rebels. I can't remember how those two fit together, but I love Rebels. I love Kanan and Hera, and this book is basically the story of how they met. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome. If you like Rebels and you like these two characters at all, you will enjoy this book.
Yes.
So the book, like you said, this was the very first one that was released in the new canon under Disney. It came out in 2014. Mm-hmm. Timeline-wise, this one is 11 years before the Battle of Yavin. So, this one's about 4-ish years after the last few we've talked about, like Lords of the Sith, Tarkin, Most Wanted. So this one, it's the rebellion is just getting started. So not just getting started. I mean, obviously it's been brewing since before the Empire, really. But it's kind of at this point it's momentum. The rebellion is starting to build momentum. They are sending some of the people out to recruiting missions, trying to find people who they think could benefit the rebellion in a meaningful way. Now, we did talk about a few weeks ago, I can't remember how long ago, the Lords of the Sith novel, which takes place on Ryloth, and it's about Cham Syndulla.
Yes.
So that one took place about 3 or 4 years before this one. And in that, they mentioned Cham's daughter, which is Hera, who's in this one. So, knowing what she comes from, the line, her father watching what he's been doing basically all her life, with the Free Ryloth movement and whatever, it's not, I don't think, I think it's kind of obvious, not obvious, I guess that's not the right word, but it totally is fitting that she would also become a rebel herself, fighting for what's right. So, in this, the two of them are kind of main characters. You get a little bit of Kanan's backstory in this one, kind of in flashbacks going on in his mind.
Oh, I love the prologue. I love the prologue in this one.
Yeah, so, you get a lot of how, kind of Kanan, that lost Padawan, now an adult, survived Order 66, trying to figure out how he fits in the world. And as we've talked about before with other books and other things, we talked about this a lot with the Ahsoka book. Did we talk about the Ahsoka book yet?
Yeah, we talked about the Ahsoka book. I'll show you. We talked about it. Yes, we did.
Yeah, so we talked in that one as well about how, the Jedi that survived Order 66 weren't really sure what to do with the Force. Like, they couldn't really get rid of it, but they didn't really want to use it. Kind of for twofold. Using it would draw attention to themselves, and they knew that the Empire was probably still looking for them. But also on the flip side of that, they kind of felt betrayed by the Force in that the Force allowed, this to happen to so many, to the Jedi. So, Kanan is basically spending his, formative years. He basically is in his early to mid 20s at this point. It's, like I said, it's been about 11 years since the Order 66 has happened, and he was kind of a early preteen, kind of early teens at that point.
He was a Padawan, yes.
Yeah, so he's early to mid 20s at this point. And he is just kind of hopping around from planet to planet, not really staying anywhere long enough to make friends, just kind of doing what he can do to stay under the radar, to survive, trying not to use his Jedi abilities, doing things that he can do without it. They can't really make him go away, and we talked about that with the Ahsoka book as well. The Force is still there, and they can't. And as we learned, the same thing happened in the Ahsoka story, and happens in the other ones too. Their Force abilities come out in times when things are about to happen, where they can do something to save people or whatever, and you kind of learn. You see Kanan's personality, which we have come to know in Rebels, that he tries to act like he doesn't care, but you can tell that he does.
Yeah.
So, basically they meet on this planet that he's been on for a while called Gorst, where they're mining, and this is how it kind of fits in with the big picture, is the planet Gorst has a moon called Cinda, and they're mining on Cinda for a metal, basically, that they need. They don't ever say it's for the Death Star, but that's...
You figure it out,
It's for the Death Star. And they need a lot of it. So, it's kind of the story where Hera goes there not to find Kanan. She's not even there on a recruiting mission. She's trying to find out...
What they're doing?
She's trying to find out more information about the guy who's overseeing the mining, who is Count Vidian. So... The story, you kind of get two parts to this, because it's about Kanan and Hera. You get a lot of Kanan's backstory, but you also have this other whole side of it, to where this is the first time you see Sloane. This is the first time she's captain of a ship. She's got a temporary captain post, and so it's your first experience with Sloane, who I love Sloane.
Which, did you read? You've read the Kanan comic book, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she pops up in that, I remember.
Yeah, I love Sloane.
Because I've read that. As you've read this 5 times or whatever, I've read the Kanan Last Padawan comic about 5 times, so.
Yeah, so, you kind of have the two things. You have Sloane, her story, you get a little bit of her backstory. You find out, you learn about her motivation and how desperately she wants to have her own ship as, and her motivation for success in the Empire. You learn about Count Vidian, what's going on. You meet a couple other little friends along the way. And then ultimately, it's, how Kanan and Hera end up going, basically she, not there to recruit, ends up recruiting Kanan.
I love that. I mean, it's been a while since I've read this book. Because, as far as, it's the first Kanan novel. So, I think I watched the first episode of Rebels and then read the book, and I told you I feel like I should go back and reread this one after watching all of Rebels now, and of course loving Rebels and loving Hera and Kanan, so I feel like I should go back and reread this one too. But I remember briefly, I don't remember a lot about it, but I remember when the part where Hera and Kanan meet, Kanan's totally hitting on her, right?
Oh yeah, well, Kanan hits on all women. That's kind of just, and he talks about that. How
giggity.
Yeah, they talk about that in the book. How when you're a Jedi, they teach you to suppress those kinds of, urges. And he's like, dude, I'm not a Jedi anymore. and he talks about how he really enjoys that part of not being a Jedi.
Why he's one of my favorite Star Wars characters.
And he definitely flirts. I mean, he flirts with Sloane. Like he uses his charm to try to get what he wants, to try to schmooze people.
Yeah.
But he is flirting with Hera pretty hardcore. But you also find, I mean, in his that he is completely infatuated with her, like for real. It isn't just like when he flirts just to get what he wants. I mean, within not long of knowing her, he basically says, "Girl, I will follow you anywhere," and he does, obviously, for the rest of the time we know them.
Okay, again, it's been so long, so I don't remember much of the book, to be honest. Does Chopper show up?
No, it's just Hera.
Okay, it's just Hera. It's not Chopper in there. Okay.
I mean, she mentions the ghost because they don't. It doesn't actually come into the story till the very end when she basically tells him, "Yeah, I have my own ship." Because he's trying to figure out how they're going to get off Gorst. And she's like, I have a ship. It's parked, wherever. And, like, the scene at the very end when she finally takes him to it, he is, like, completely in love with the ship. Yeah. There's, like, a whole bit where he's just, like, walking around, like, ogling the ship.
Yeah, I got to reread this.
I mean, he talks about how, it's this beautiful ship, and it even has, he talks about the Phantom. It even has its own little,
mini ship.
Yeah, yes. He loves the Ghost. But no, nobody else besides Hera is there. There's no Chopper.
Okay, cool. I got you. Now, okay, so another thing is how... at one point, he uses his Jedi abilities to save someone, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the setting to that? It's like someone falls.
No, not fall. So basically, the other, like, the main challenge of the story is the mining on Cinda. So Gorst is a planet that doesn't rotate. So there's a hot side of Gorst, and then there's that faces the sun, and then there's a dark side of Gorst that never sees the sun. The dark side is the only side that's livable. Uh-huh. So Cinda is the moon of the planet. And Cinda is where they're mining. So basically what's happening is the Empire, because of how much they want of... I can't remember what the thing is that they're mining is called. But because of how much the Empire wants that material, they start mining by blowing up small parts of the moon to help break up to break it up so they can get what they need. And so there's a character that's basically trying to stop it. Like, he's trying to tell them, if you keep doing that, you're going to destroy the moon. So there's a scene where they're not listening to him, this guy. And finally...
Shocked.
Yeah. In order to prove his point, he thinks, he goes into a part of the mine that's not supposed to be in use, and he sets a large explosion to try to show them what will happen if you continue mining in that part of the moon.
Okay.
However, because the Empire's there, everyone's working faster and harder, and so they are mining that point. So Kanan and some of the workers from his company are in there when the bombs go off. Okay. So there's several people that are about to get basically crushed in the collapsing thing, and so he basically pulls them out by using the force to stop the cave from crashing on them.
Yeah. So I bring it up because, the video game Jedi Fallen Order, when I first saw the trailer for it, it was about, a Jedi in hiding who wasn't trying to use the Force. And I was like, oh, it's Kanan, right? And then I'm like, and then you play the game, and the first scene is him saving one of his coworkers from a fall. And I'm like, that's exactly like Kanan.
Well, it's the same thing that happened in the Ahsoka book. That is what happens to... I mean, I think what they're trying to get you to understand is the Jedi that survive, they don't want to use their powers, but they can't help but save people. Like, it's too ingrained in them to help others. And that's what you find, even aside from using your Force abilities, you see, Ahsoka does it in the Ahsoka novel. She can't help but help those people. Yeah. Not necessarily by using the Force even, but just by helping them plan to try to protect their world. Same thing here. Kanan has no ties to that place, but he ends up doing a lot of really stuff that his plan is to leave as soon as the Empire shows up. And instead, he ends up sticking around because people need him, and he can see that he can help them. Yeah. And whether he wants to do it or not, he can't help but help them.
That's
because
who he is.
That's who the Jedi are.
Exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, they end up, a lot of them doing stuff like that at times when... I mean, he does it again, and this is how in the novel Hera discovers that he is a Jedi. Uh-huh. Is he actually... He does it again toward the end of the book, uses his Force abilities to save her, and she sees it. So she knows that what he is.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I just have to go back and reread it. I remember,
so good.
I mean, my most thing, I remember reading it for the first time. In that prologue, it was, Kanan in the Jedi Temple as a youngling.
Talking to Obi-Wan.
And talking to Obi-Wan. And he's asking him all these questions about, what if this happens? What if this happens? And, Yoda and Obi-Wan seem kind of flabbergasted because, a lot of younglings don't have this many questions. And I remember just reading that prologue, and by then I was like, this is awesome. Yes, I love it. It was totally great. But yeah, I need to go back and reread it after, because it's been, heck, it came out September 2014. It's been freaking 6 years since I've read it.
Yeah.
So
I really love this book. It's definitely, I don't know if it's my very favorite, but it could be.
Exactly. And at Star Wars Celebration last year, I remember I was wandering around and, John Jackson Miller was doing a signing, and I noticed that, like, nobody was really, like, a couple of people were in line, but it wasn't that bad. Not like, the lines that you stood in. And I was like, oh, wait, and you were somewhere else. And I'm like, oh, quick. So I went around the corner, quickly bought a copy of A New Dawn, a paperback, whatever. It was the only thing they had. All they had was paperback. And I quickly just grabbed it and had, hey, sign this for my wife.
I really would have liked to have talked to him, though, because I really do like this book so
I'm
much.
sure he'll be at the next celebration, too. So hopefully he's got some other Star Wars books on the way. But yes, I got to go back and reread this. So, okay. So, do you like this? I mean, you read it 5 times. So do you like it more and more?
Oh, yeah. Every time I read it, I like it more than before. I love this book.
Do you learn more things about, like, the characters or pick up on more details?
Yeah, I mean, every time you read, you get a little more nuance. You see little things you didn't see before. Plus, this is one of the few of them that I've actually listened to and actually physically read.
Okay.
Because the first time I read this, I actually physically read it.
Yeah, I physically read it too.
It wasn't on Audible. So, I mean, I think you get different perspectives too when you do that. Because you see different things when you read it.
Does Mark Thompson read this one?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That'll be good. Cool. All right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. Some of the other ones are not. Like, I'm pretty sure Tarkin is not read by Mark Thompson.
Yeah, there's a few of them that are not Mark Thompson.
Yeah, because the other one, Jonathan Davis, he reads some.
Well, I mean,
they're the two main people.
Yeah, and you do have, of course, like the occasional guest voice.
Yeah, like Catherine Tabor reads
or
whenever
Ashley Eckstein. Yeah,
right.
stuff
but
like that.
Generally, they're Mark Thompson or Jonathan Davis. But this one, I'm pretty sure was Mark Thompson.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, it is your turn. If you have checked out A New Dawn, let us know what you think about it. If you haven't checked it out and you like Star Wars Rebels, I believe this is a must-read. I've said this before. I feel like with the character of Kanan Jarrus, this is the second of 3 parts of the story of Kanan Jarrus. The first part is the comic book series Kanan, the Last Padawan. This is the middle chapter, A New Dawn, and then of course you have Rebels to finish it off. But yes, I agree. Even though I haven't read it in a while, I agree. If you're a Rebels fan, you must read this book.
If you do not like this one, I would love to know why.
Ooh, a challenge. Ooh, there you go. All right. I honestly, I think this is one we need to press JR to read. We need to press because you know how much he loved Rebels. So let's press him to really read it. I told him to read Queen's Peril the other day, but I think I'd rather him check this one out to see what he thinks of it. So
yeah,
but
good.
All right, that is it for us today. We have finished. Yes, 3 of 3 recorded right in a row, and now Lisa can finally get to Queen's Peril, so we can talk about that
after I finish the book.
Damn it, Lisa! Okay, all right, guys. Well, I'm gonna sit here and gloat and finish my whiskey. You guys fire back. Let us know what you think. Dayspring Discussions at gmail.com. Facebook group, and of course the Twitter account. That's it. Go out, enjoy your lives. Until next time, may the Force be with us all.